lines in football. I know early returns for Herbert were rough, but he's 5,300 at Cleveland this week. First 4 games, Herbert averaged 22 passes per, 144 yards passing, not great. Had 24 rushing yards, 11.15 points per game on DraftKings. Since the bye, and Herbert starting to feel a little better, right? Getting a little bit more comfortable in that Harbaugh offense. There's been 3 games. He's averaging 35 pass attempts, 11 more passes per game, 288 yards per game. That means he has doubled his passing yards per, 59 rushing yards. Again, more than doubled his rushing yards. And now it's almost scoring 19 points per game on DK. Cleveland's pass defense is not what it once was. Over their last 4, they've allowed 7 passing touchdowns with 10 different pass catchers having a reception of 25-plus yards or more. They give up big plays left and right. 5 different QBs this season have 20-plus rushing yards versus Cleveland. 4 different QBs have 40-plus rushing yards versus this Cleveland defense. And Herbert, 57 of his 83 yards on the season have come in his last 2 games where, again, he's getting healthy, he's starting to move around more. And I like this more because Jameis gives Cleveland's offense a much higher ceiling, meaning that it's not going to be a game where you can just run the ball, which we know the Chargers will do at times. But here lately, like the J.K. Dobbins success has not been as much because that's what teams are trying to take away. And now that Justin Herbert's healthy, he's starting to burn them. I really think he's an extreme value at 5,300, especially with his rushing upside. Running backs, I have not gone to this guy all year, afraid of being called a homer. I don't care anymore. Bijan Robinson, 7,400 versus Dallas. His last 3 games, 47% of his rushing yards this season have came in at 4 of his 5 touchdowns, 38% of his receiving yards. Like, he has been going off. All 3 of his 20-plus point performances on DK have occurred in that span. He's averaging over 25 points per game the last 3. His volume has increased significantly, averaging almost 4 more carries per game in the last 3 to earlier in the season, and almost a full reception more than he did in those first 5 games. Cowboys, you can just kill them with the run. 150 yards. They're awful. 150 yards per game, almost 5 yards per carry. They also allow almost 4 receptions per game to opposing. And what I like about Bijan is whether the Falcons-Cowboy game is close or the Falcons run away with it or the Falcons play from behind. Bijan will be involved if recent weeks are any indication because of his ability to both run and pass. DeAndre Swift, 6,400 at Arizona, is the other back. I cannot remember a player who started the season healthy and was as bad as Swift and then abruptly became one of the best players at their position in fantasy. Through 3 games, Swift in Chicago, it looked like a disaster. 68 yards on 37 carries. For those like Jay that are bad at math, that is 1.83 yards per carry. That's real bad. He scored 19.2 points combined in that stretch, and that was really just because DK gives a point per reception. He had 6 catches for 46 yards. If you listen to me on the Fantasy Football Waiver Show on Fantasy and Brains, I said during Week 4 he's droppable, and I couldn't hit that button fast enough. It's the latest example of me being a jinx at times because Swift scored a touchdown in every game since then. He's rushed for 386 yards on 72 carries, or 5.36 yards per carry, and that's almost a 4-yard improvement.
That's a turnaround right there.
That is unreal. I guess it's just, again, me saying something. He scored 23 points on DK per game over his last 4, despite only catching 6 passes in that period. And more impressively, he scored 21.9 points in consecutive games without a single reception. So that's how good he's been running the ball. And the only running backs who have played their last 3 games who are averaging more points per game on DK, Joe Mixon, Bijan, Derrick Henry, Jamar Gibbs, and Breece Hall. Every one of those running backs are at least $1,100 more expensive than Swift this week. And only Mixon is averaging more than 2.5 points per game more in that span than Swift. And then he faces the Cardinals, who are just real bad. Defense in general, the Dolphins running backs last week, 134 yards on 21 carries, 2 touchdowns. They also caught 7 passes for 61 yards and a score. On the season, the Cardinals allow 140 yards per game on the ground at 4.6 yards per carry and 10 rushing touchdowns. The wide receivers, Puka Nacua, he's back at Seattle. Despite what Adam Schefter said, he played a bunch of snaps Thursday, caught 7 passes, 106 yards. His last 8 games with the Rams, dating back to last year, he sent at least 8 targets in each, scored double-digit points in all of them, had 500-yard receiving games, and he's averaging right at 20 points per game in that span, 19.98 points. Seattle ranks 15th versus wide receivers, but this is why you should dive into the numbers before just trusting what you see. The Seahawks faced to start the season Bo Nix and his first ever start, Jacoby Brissett, and the duo of Skylar Thompson / Tim Bull. Since then, the Seahawks, non-surprisingly, have struggled, particularly with wide receivers, despite not allowing more than 15 receptions in a game to opponents' wide receivers. They've allowed 7 touchdowns to wide receivers at over 13 yards per reception. And just their last 5, wide receivers are averaging 164 yards per game in that span. And I think the Rams proved that Puka is the focal point of that offense, even when him and Kupp are both healthy. Let's stack Justin Herbert. That's one of my favorite things. It's my guy. It's lad time. Ladd McConkey, 5,600 at Cleveland. 4 straight games with 4 receptions or more. 6 or more targets in 5 straight. He scored 17.7 points or more in 2 of 4. Scored a touchdown in 3 of 7. And it was all highlighted by his big breakout game Sunday. 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 30-burger on DK. Cleveland versus number 1 wide receivers their last 4. It's not been great. Zay Flower last week, 7 for 115. Jamar Chase the week before, 5 for 55, a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 6 for 116, a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 4 for 112. But the big thing is they give up a bunch of big plays, and they play man defense all the time. The Browns rank right next to the Saints in plays of 20-plus and 40-plus yards allowed to receivers, and both allow right at 12 yards per reception. Again, that man number is even more importantly. They run it at a top 5 rate. Ladd versus man has the 5th highest target rate in the NFL wide receiver at 36.4%, and is 9th among wide receivers in fantasy points per target when facing man at over 2 points per target. Jalen Coker, 3,600. I think the steal of this week, it could change, but this is where it's at right now. 3,600 versus New Orleans. He saw 1 target the first 4 weeks. Since then, put up a pretty good stat line for a decent young wide receiver. 14 targets, 12 receptions, 186 yards and a score, 10 or more points in 2 of 4. And then the big thing, Deontay Johnson is gone. They traded him to Baltimore. It's a huge opportunity for him and Xavier Legette. He has not eclipsed 62% of the snaps. Heading into Week 8, he played 69%. He had not ran more than 70% of the routes. He hit 80% last week versus the Broncos. This reminds me so much of Tyler Boyd and Cincy before they drafted T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And if you don't remember, Tyler Boyd actually had back-to-back 76-plus reception seasons and over 1,000 yards the year before T. Higgins was drafted, and then his first year with T. Higgins afterwards, never eclipsed 850 yards, never eclipsed 70 receptions. I don't think Jalen Coker is going to be this great wide receiver, but he's going to get a ton of volume, and he's going to get a lot of looks in this Carolina offense, which is really like the worst defense in the league. So they're down. They're throwing. The Saints team, the secondary allows the 5th most yards to wide receiver at the 10 highest yards per reception. The tight end, God, this makes me sick, but give me Taysom Hill, 3,800 at Carolina. He played for the first time last week since Week 4, where he scored 2 rushing touchdowns versus my Falcons in the first half, scoring 14.4 points, and then he exited with an injury. But then in his return, we saw him see a season high in targets 4, caught 2 passes for 21 yards. More importantly, he ran the ball 4 times for 20 yards. The Panthers' run defense, worst in the NFL, 2nd in average yards per game to running backs. They've allowed the most rushing touchdowns. And most importantly, Saints will be able to stay in this game, meaning he should see a decent amount of rush attempts as the game goes on. He's going to be involved in the passing game. And it would not shock me if Carr is still not ready to start this week. You see him at QB a good bit because the Rattler experiment has not worked. My flex is Saquon Barkley, 8,200 versus the Jags. Over his last 5, he's averaging 17 carries for 112 yards per game. He's got 3 touchdowns in that span. The Jags are 28th on DK versus running backs because they basically give up a full touchdown per game to running backs this season. He has not done much in the passing game in recent weeks. Barkley hasn't. Just 25 receiving yards over his last 3. But he had 85 and a touchdown early. The Jags give up almost 50 yards per game to running backs in the pass-catching game. And more than anything, Barkley is due for a big home game. Like, it is crazy. Due to their home opener being Brazil, 142 of his 766 rushing yards have come in front of Philly's faithful. Everything else has came in Brazil or on the road. I think that changes this week. He's a pretty safe play. And then give me the Giants defense versus Washington at 2,300. Jane Daniels did look a little banged up. The offense did not look quite the same. Obviously, they were a little bit more cautious with some of his running. And this Giants team, they're just a safe play. They scored 4 more points in 7 of 8, 20 sacks over their last 4, 35 on the season. So they're going to get, those 2 points you get for sacks. They'll get at least 3 or 4 of those. They get a pick 6 or something. There you go at 2,300. I think that's a pretty good value. They have a really high floor, which is rare for defenses in this price range.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Keith, question for you. Is there, it's not this black and white, but is there, I know you always mention, like, when you're talking about their salary, like there's a multiplier of their salary that you're trying to get out of when they score points. Was it like 3 times what their salary is, something like that?
Yes.
Okay. And
so for cash, yes, absolutely. You just want basically 150 points 9 times out of 10 in single entries, double ups is going to be enough for you to cash. Now, if it's like a multi-entry, now you're looking at you want like 4 or 5 times, because usually 200 points then becomes you're definitely going to cash, to where some weeks, don't get me wrong, 160, 170 will cash in, and then maybe then there's other weeks that you can score 200 points and you're just barely in the cash, to where and like cash on where everybody's only getting 1 entry, 150 points is usually pretty tough to beat. And that's 3 times. Think about 50,000 times 3.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, makes sense. And, certainly appreciate all the information, and hard to believe we're through 9 weeks, or into the 9th week of the NFL season. And how bad do your Georgia Bulldogs beat Florida this weekend? Or are you worried about it at all?
I'm not really worried about it. I mean, the Texas game just reminded me that Kirby's the best coach, I think, in football right now, with Nick Saban retiring. And I just loved his attitude. Like, we just won that big game. Everything went wrong, and they still dominated. And he starts pointing the finger at ESPN and saying, we don't give a crap about all that. We just came to eat, which apparently Kirby is always telling people we came to eat, which I kind of love. But yeah. He's just remarkable. Like, he is very much like Saban. Like, it's almost like the results don't even matter. It's just the process, effort, etc. And he knows, just like Saban did, that if you do that, you're going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, no doubt. And sometimes the other team gives you some ammo to throw out there. There's no doubt about that. Keith, we appreciate you as always. Everybody go out there, follow Keith on X. That's Keith Fleming, KeithFleming. Make sure you pay attention throughout the rest of the week if you want to win some money on DraftKings. You're listening to Inside Drive. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd.
Take out Mahomes, who would you want with a ball with 1.5 minutes left and 1 timeout to score a touchdown? Matt Stafford arguably is number 2. You think Sean McVay is unhappy with that quarterback? After that performance, he still doesn't have his best interior offensive lineman. He still doesn't have his top tight end.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Well, it's that time of the year again, folks. Yep, Christmas is right around the corner. And to avoid the stress and rush, Tracy's Fine Jewelry is starting our Christmas sale early. That's right, all color gemstone jewelry is on sale now for 60% off. Rubies, emeralds, sapphires, tanzanites, opals, and more. Mark it off your list and lay away now. At Tracy's Fine Jewelry, we love to save you time and money. So avoid the rush and come see us at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, where Santa shops.
It's football season, and that boot store reminds you to roll tide. Go Noles, War Eagles, sick 'em dogs, and go Gators. Before the cold weather hits, shop that boot store for all your winter western wear and Carhartt work clothes to keep you warm on the job. That boot store, where God is good all the time. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5, and Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30. Next to Bill Burkey at 15th Street, Panama City, that boot store.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. He has over 10 items in the express lane. He pays with checks and he doesn't return his shopping carts.
You have ruined groceries for me.
Now back to Ryan Mulvey and the Inside Drive. ESPN Northwest Florida. Not sorry.
Back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Your home for the Auburn Tigers. Trying to finish out the rest of their season with a couple dubs. They broke their SEC win bubble this past weekend. They will take on the Vanderbilt Commodores this Saturday. Unusual start time, 11:45 a.m. Guessing coverage starts sometime around 11, David Hayes?
10:05.
Oh, an hour. I didn't know if game day was going to cut off. Or
wait, are we talking about the Auburn game?
Yes.
Yeah, 11:45 is the
kickoff. 10:45 coverage starts. I like
Always an hour with Auburn games unless we have games playing prior to them, and then we'll get to the kick.
Gotcha. A little interesting start up there at Jordan-Hare Stadium, but it's going to be a beautiful day for football. Currently, Auburn is -7 at home, over under 48.5. You can listen to that game. Andy Burcham on the call right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Be interesting there. Auburn being favored 7 at home against Vandy. That's one of those is like, I go either way with that one and not really feel confident. It's like, is Auburn going to run the football really well against Vandy, or is Vandy going to play? Vandy's played very well at home. There's no doubt about that. Texas came into Vandy or into Nashville. So did Alabama. Vandy certainly hasn't won a ton on the road. Jordan-Hare's a difficult place to play, but it's a Saturday morning game, so we shall see. I'll probably just stay completely away from that one. I'm excited. We are going to head up to me and the little guy, Liam. We're going to head up to Troy, Alabama on Saturday to watch the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers take on the Troy Trojans.
Y'all are 4.5-point favorite, I believe, in that game.
Yes, Troy just not having a great season. Coastal not having a great season. I mean, they are 4-3, but I believe they've lost 2 out of their last 3, maybe 3 out of their last 4.
Troy's got like 1 win this year.
Yeah, 1-7.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's no bueno.
No bueno indeed.
Garbage.
Now, Troy has had Coastal's number in the last few years, so but a little different football team, no doubt. But excited to go up there and check it out. Haven't seen a Coastal Carolina football game. Probably since shortly after I graduated. I went back from one a year or 2 later. I haven't been back to Conway in quite some time, and I missed the South Alabama game a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But excited to make a short journey up the road to go check out Troy and Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be great for Liam.
Yeah, he's excited. Obviously, with the certain credentials, you can't root and cheer and all that. But you're still at the game. You can do it inside your head, and we'll get to go out in the field and check him out there. He's like, "Do I get to talk to a player?" I was like, "If you want to, are you actually going to talk?" that would be good. I've been waiting for Jay all week to go over the pick.
Dude, I was going to ask you, can we just go over the pick?
No, I've got it. We're doing it because I'm tired of waiting.
Fun.
Yes. So we actually, you and I both had pretty good weeks last week. I was actually 1 win away from a perfect week. And the win that I lost, or the game that I lost, was on the Hail Mary. So almost went 10 out of 10 in that one. But we did pick the spread with Oregon and Illinois, 22.5. You did take Illinois with the points.
Yeah.
David and I took Oregon minus 22.5. I think the final score in that game was like 38-0.
38-9.
38-9. So they did end up covering that one, and then we picked BYU, UCF.
They only scored like 3 points in the second half.
Yeah,
too, which that's why I took the under 62.5 because I was like, this game's over.
No doubt. But BYU, UCF. That was the game. If you bet it, it was like, ooh, how am I getting money line for BYU? And it didn't. It wasn't a mistake. It was reality. And BYU looked good. They got up by enough. They kind of just were able to cruise the rest of that game. Jay did pick the Knights in that one, so he lost that game. We both put BYU. Same thing with Missouri and Alabama. We both took Bama. Jay took Missouri. Same thing with Texas A&M, LSU. We both took Texas A&M. He took LSU. Texas A&M won that one by a few scores. All 3 of us took Miami minus 21, and that did in fact cover. I believe the final score
34-16.
34-16. Yep, so 18 points. Ooh, so we lost that one. I was doing math poorly this morning.
Hold on, let me double.
Yeah, double check that one for me.
Because I feel like they did cover the score. I might be thinking of a different score.
Yeah, hold on. I've got it right here. I've got Florida State up on my phone. All right, last week.
36-14?
36-14. Yeah,
so that covers, right?
Yes.
22 points.
22 points. All day long. I was like, did I do that wrong before? I've been known to do it wrong.
Hey, a little dyslexia never hurt nobody, not dadgummit.
It just makes it a little tough if you're trying to say what you're trying to say. But yeah, covered by...
say what you need to say, not what you want to say.
All right, John. All right, so all three of us got that one. Then we went into the NFL side of things. We went Eagles, Bengals. Jay and I picked the Eagles. You took the Bengals. The Eagles ended up kind of getting that second half. Jalen Hurts got going. Eagles won that game by a few scores. Then we went Falcons, Bucks. We both picked the Falcons. Jay picked the Bucks. Falcons won that game. Packers, Jags, and Bills and Seahawks. All three of us picked the Packers. All three of us picked the Bills. We both got those wins. And then all three of us picked the Bears in the Bears-Commanders game.
And I changed that pick Sunday. Obviously not with us or whatever, but I had the Commanders.
Yep. So Jay got 5, you got 7, and I got Hail Mary short of going 10 for 10 in the pick'em this past week.
So what was the run?
5, 7, 9.
Okay.
45.
So you picked up 2 on
I picked
me.
up 2. 45, 80, and 71.
Okay, all right.
But hey, we still got multiple division winner. Now, we'll obviously not be able to settle that until June of next year, which will probably be here before we know it. But yeah, some big NFL games coming up this weekend. I think we got, one more weekend until the game in Munich, where they'll be playing a game in Germany. But Thursday night football, you got the Texans and the Jets. Cowboys and the Falcons kick off the Sunday slate of football. Dolphins and the Bills. Raiders at the Bengals. -7, the Bengals at home against the Raiders. Now the Raiders have looked really bad the last couple of weeks. Chargers and the Browns. Chargers are only 1-. Browns looked a little better. Jameis Winston at the helm. Do you think Jameis can repeat that success from the previous week?
Does Jameis think he can?
He 100% thinks he can. There's no doubt about it. And I ask you that specifically.
Unwavering faith, ultimate belief, and something else. I forget what the final part of that quote was that he had this last week. But I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I think, they beat one of the best teams in the National Football League, but the problem is, can you build upon that and make it a consistent thing, which is something that we haven't necessarily seen from the career of Jameis Winston.
Definitely. And just, in football in general, when your overall roster is probably not as good as the team you're going up against, can you continue to do that? But hey, if you're looking for one, the Chargers are only 1.5-point favorite on the road there. So if you like the Chargers in that one, and the Chargers are playing some good ball, and they're trying to make it interesting in the AFC West, as the Chiefs are obviously 7-0. The Broncos are, I believe, 5-2, if I'm not mistaken. So Chargers got a little bit of ground to make up, but there's still a lot of season left to go. And then just an absolutely, unless you're a fan of these two teams or a fan of a glutton for punishment, you got the Patriots at the Texans. Titans, sorry, at the Titans. And, hey, 37.5 is the total points there. It's like, can they score that many between the two of them? Are they bad enough to each score enough points on each other?
Yeah, they are. They can get over that hump right there.
Smash the over then.
I like the Patriots in this game.
Ooh, hey, it worked well. Patriots are not certainly the Lions, but yeah, you got the insight.
I know, but I'm not gonna. I'm not doing what I do. I do.
That one popped up on the schedule, and you're like, yes,
-12, easy money.
You're like, I got that one. But yeah, Tennessee is actually a 3.5-point favorite at the house. Commanders at the Giants, little NFC East matchup there. Commanders trying to get a little bit further lead against the Eagles. Giants just trying to do something worth a darn. They're 0-4 at home, and the fans at MetLife Stadium would like to see something. Jaden Daniels, hopefully that rib cartilage is healed up a little more, as Keith said in the final segment, and I think you talked about it the other day too as well. Like, just wasn't fully healthy yet. Obviously had enough gas to throw that deep ball, but kind of of limited the rushing a little bit, and he wasn't running out of the pocket as much as we've previously seen. But the Giants just aren't good at scoring points, especially touchdowns. I think the other night on against the Steelers, that was their first touchdown in 22 drives.
Yikes.
Is I think what I heard the announcer say. And yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. And the Daniel Jones experiment, despite him having decent numbers, I don't know how much longer that's going to last up there in New Jersey, so to speak, but the New York Football Giants. Saints at the Panthers. That's another barn burner. 2-6 Saints over the against
2-6.
Yeah.
Like they were
2-0
about as the best team in the NFL. Like, man, they put up so many points. I mean, they had us fooled.
Yeah.
And it was just fool's gold.
Fool's gold, indeed. That pyrite, that'll get you every time. But yeah, sometimes the matchups and opponents can make you think a little bit better about the team than they really are. But yeah, Panthers are a 7-point dog at the house. I don't know if the Saints can cover that. The Panthers,
what is it?
7 on the road. You know, are they starting Spencer Rattler, or are they throwing Jake Haener again?
They need to go Haener, man.
I've got several. I got a 101 autograph card for Jake Haener, so I want Haener to be the guy for the New Orleans Saints. But
Fresno State product.
Yeah, Fresno State. I think he had a small stint at Oklahoma as well. He bounced around a little bit, but who doesn't anymore in the college football world, except the upper echelon there, and he certainly wasn't one of those. Broncos, Ravens, a sneaky good early window matchup. 9.5-point favorite, those Baltimore Ravens are. That's a lot of points. Denver's got a good defense. Bo Nix is playing better. They haven't really been running the football too well, but 9.5 sticks out to me a little bit in this one.
And they're at the house?
At the house in Baltimore.
They're coming off of a loss, so I like them to cover 10 points.
Yeah, bounce back game.
Yes, sir.
Hey, and
Derrick Henry over 100.
There you go. Smash it. Don't parlay it. I was going to say parlay it with the Ravens, maybe the money line. If you can even bet on the money line, it's probably pretty significant. Jags, Eagles, that's going to be the first game of the afternoon slate, followed by the Bears and the Cardinals, the Lions and the Packers. That's probably going to be your national game, I would guess, coming up. That's a big-time NFC North matchup.
The Tom Brady game, if you will.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes now. If you hear old TB12.
Which he's probably not going to be able to compensate for very much longer.
Yeah, with the whole Raiders ownership thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because he can't speak, like he can't be in the pregame meetings. He can't be,
and that's a very important part of what these play-by-play and color guys do. Is they go interview, they talk to the players, they talk to the court. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize that they're doing to prepare for these matchups. But yeah, that would certainly hinder him in various games, no doubt about it.
Ravens money line's minus 475. They don't have the player props up yet.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's Wednesday, right? All that'll probably start populating tomorrow or later on today. But then you got the Rams, Seahawks. Despite both teams either 500 or slightly below 500, that NFC West is wide open now with 3 teams being 4-4 and one team being 3-4. So that game, despite not great records, is certainly got some implications. The Rams are a 2-point favorite up there in Seattle, as Keith was talking about in his stats about the wide receiver action that's been going on against Seattle the last few weeks. Not surprised that the Rams are favored, even though that's definitely a tough place to play up there in Seattle. But Seattle's coming off a loss last week. Rams looked pretty good. And then Sunday night football, the Colts at the Vikings. Joe Flacco against Sam Darnold.
Give me Sam. Give me the Vikings. They got to right the ship, if you will, after back-to-back losses.
2 consecutive losses. Yeah, started off 5-0, dropped the last 2. Minnesota is a 5-point favorite at the house. Skull, as some might say. And then your Monday night football game for Week 9, another primetime game for Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. That'll be at the house in Arrowhead. Baker Mayfield, they got to come in. They are a 9-point underdog. Certainly missing some wide receivers. That's a very, very tough place to play. But you got to think, right, the Chiefs are going to drop a game at some point. You would think they can't.
I don't know, man. We'll just have to, we'll go week by week. And who do they have this week?
The Bucs at the house.
Oh, yeah, 8.5-point favorite on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a big one.
But the wide receiver core for the Bucs is not as strong as what it's, with no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. So we'll see, man. I think that the Chiefs keep it going here this week as well.
Yep, Chiefs go Bucs, Broncos, Bills, Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos to round out the season. Still 2 more games against the Broncos there, and we'll see how it all shapes out. We haven't been an undefeated team in a long time in the regular season since the New England Patriots, who couldn't win that Super Bowl. Thanks, David Tyree. You listen to the Inside Drive, Afternoon Underdogs coming up at 4 p.m. Hopefully, Jay will be with us tomorrow. Thursday is going to be like our fun Friday, so make sure you tune in the show tomorrow. Y'all have a great rest of your Wednesday.
ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Don't you agree, Paul? I can say whatever the hell I want to. I worked my ass off today. I might have made $120. Don't you agree? I can say whatever the hell I want to about somebody that makes $10 million a year.